Welcome to the Disrupt Your Career podcast, brought to you by Claire Harbour
and Antoine Tirard. We're passionate about helping everyone find fulfillment in their work life.
We believe that big, messy, uncharted career changes are inevitable, and it's up to you to decide.
Will you take control and disrupt, or allow yourself to be disrupted?
We wrote the book about it, and now we share here our conversations with other thinkers in this crucial area.
Settle down and get ready to listen to this dose of wisdom.
This time on the Disrupt Your Career podcast, we are welcoming back Anna Tavis, who joined us probably almost a year ago, if not more. And she is about to be publishing a book in May of this year called The Digital Coaching Revolution, which I love. It's a subject very close to our hearts. So Anna, welcome back. And why don't you share with us why you wrote this book and also something about your process for writing?
This book, even though it came so fast after my first one in 22, this actually has been published in February, came out as a 3-year process, actually, at NYU, where I teach in New York. We run a conference, Coaching and Technology Summit, every year. And that conference came out of us launching the first in the United States Master of Science degree in Executive Coaching and Organizational Consulting. And so what we started noticing working in this space is that, especially in the pandemic, the coaching platforms came in, became sort of one of the employee benefit programs that companies set up for their remote workforce. So that's kind of how the whole idea came together. We've been observing this phenomenon for quite some time and decided to convene these companies, including the BetterUp, the Ezras, as well as the emerging companies like Bravely, Coach M from Australia, from all over the world, convene them in New York to talk about what's the future of coaching, given this kind of infusion, on the one hand, of technology that is very responsive, very personalized, and the experience of being remote and the need to connect to people in their remote locations, at the same time provide, the management, the advice, and oftentimes coaching. So the convergence of those trends brought us together to the conference. We've been discussing what the future might be. And then AI came about and AI coaches started to be introduced. And now what we're seeing is these coaching assistants in all shapes and forms are beginning to show up pretty much ubiquitously across every area of work and leisure and sports and in healthcare. And so that's kind of what prompted us to put together the book. It is a little fast, but we wanted to put a stake in the ground and say, this is happening right now. Let's pay attention to it. But we are also very aware that this is just the beginning of a huge trend, and we need to be watching out for what's coming next.
Beautiful. Well, that explains very clearly why and how you went about writing this express version of the book. What would you say are the key messages or emerging concepts that come from the book?
The number one, I would say, is what I called hyper-personalization of learning, development, even to a certain extent, therapy and medical care that we're going to see. So hyper-personalization. With this comes also democratization, that coaching methodology that was exclusive to primarily senior executives in companies is now becoming available to all. And some of it will come in form of an AI coach rather than a life coach. But at the same time, they're becoming democratized in that sense. And all of it is scalable. Scalable, what I mean by that is it could be delivered at any point, at any time, at the time of need, in the flow of work, in the flow of leisure, etc. So 3 main distinguishing characteristics of this phase in the evolution of coaching: hyper-personalization, democratization, and scaling of these services across populations.
It's a massive change. And I'm thinking that many, many of our listeners are practitioners in the field of development and coaching. And I'm wondering, should icy blood be running through their veins? Or how do you see the cohabitation of the two systems?
I personally am a very strong believer in the human in the loop, the importance of human connection. What we are seeing for those of us who are coaches right now, it is about really learning on the job, adopting these technologies, adapting to new ways of working, because a coach with a bot will be more competitive than a coach without a bot. In that sense, and by bots, we don't mean just the conversation. We mean everything that's connected to the coaching session, including timekeeping, including, accountability, including check-ins where all you have to say is, are you on track with your goals, etc. That could be easily delegated to AI or chatbots, etc. So, and the data, obviously, that are coming and being collected across different domains and could be available to the coach to make better decisions, to have a deeper dive in the conversation. All of that is changing the way coaching is being delivered.
I think that's fascinating. And I love the idea of combining and not just saying, hey, all you coaches out, but to bring in assistance and support and enhance the whole process through this new AI. That makes a lot of sense. I think that will resonate a great deal with our listeners. Are you able to share any particularly striking story or case study from the book, just as a final way to think about it? Something that's going to get people wanting to go out and buy it and read it.
My favorite, if I could just go to where I spent quite a bit of time doing research, is to look at how coaching evolved from sports to telemedicine and therapeutics, and then to executive coaching, because we kind of operated on parallel tracks and not interacting with each other. But when I started looking at the evolution of these types of coaching solutions that come with the help of technology and data, I actually almost immediately ended up looking at sports, because we can't even imagine right now coaching of any team without the video, with the all sorts of biometric measures, et cetera, that comes with a very advanced elite, especially elite teams. You spent, again, time interviewing companies that are in sports technology and how they are integrating coaching, these technologies and data. Again, personalization, where the athletes have a lot of access to their own information as well, and how the human coach, and it's interesting that we're beginning to use that term, human coach, begins to integrate these and apply. So the role of the coach is actually elevated of these elite teams. My favorite, at the end of the chapter that I wrote on the sports, I talk about Ted Lasso.
Oh, yes.
As an example of the human coach that, obviously they're not focused on technology or et cetera, but the idea is that you need somebody who actually might not come from exact the same background, but that has the human and the personality and human skills to make it available to support their players, et cetera, et cetera. So sports, my second big interest was in how coaching is now infiltrating or becoming more and more prevalent in medical care, where, again, that comes with a huge cost, especially in the United States where I live, the huge costs of medical care and lack of availability in a lot of parts of the country. It's not evenly distributed. And I think we all felt it during the pandemic. So to see how coaching is becoming an intermediary step, there's additional certification that is required in addition to coaching skills to be qualified to be credentialed in coaching in the medical area, but and I'm looking at companies like Headspace, for example, that it has a whole big team of coaches, over 100 coaches that precede the interventions that might be required from a psychiatrist or a psychologist or medically trained professional. And I think that is a really interesting application of coaching. And then finally, we get to coaching in organizations that obviously we all talk about a lot. And that's where I'm seeing, especially during the pandemic, where so many companies, and there are multiple examples of how these platforms, especially platforms, BetterUp, Ezra, Bravely, Coach Hub, I describe how they kind of evolve their businesses, evolve their messages, but I think all of them are moving toward a much broader market of L&D, and I think they're going to be tapping into and becoming an equal partner to the traditional training. In fact, those traditional training, I think if anyone is at danger, I think it's the traditional trainers, because coaching is going to come in as a preferred method of development. And now, just one more example, we are even looking at introducing coaches in high schools.
Much needed.
Absolutely. Again, looking at college counselors in New York City public school system, you could have 500 students per one college counselor, and some of the overcrowded schools. And it's exactly those people who would benefit from accessibility to coaching, to a lot more personalized approach, which these technologies are allowing us to utilize, to deploy.
Indeed. Anna, that's beautiful. It makes for really interesting thinking and reflection, and definitely gives an appetite to go and buy the book. So we will make sure that the link to your book is in the notes. And I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to join us and get people salivating about the digital coaching revolution.
Thank you so much. I think we all will benefit from it. I'm very excited about the future. Thank you, Claire.
We hope you enjoyed hearing from this month's guest as much as we did.
Do go and check out our work on disrupt-your-career.com and come back soon. Thank you.